Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a really fascinating topic, the value of film analysis and separating the myths from the reality. We're going to challenge a super common assumption about how we watch movies. Specifically, we're looking at what actually happens to the magic of cinema when we start to really truly think about what we're watching.
Okay, let's dive into this. Does analysis actually kill the magic of cinema? I mean, we've all been there, right? You walk out of a dark theater, letting the music and the story just completely wash over you, absolutely buzzing with emotion. And then there's that one friend, you know the one, the person who fancies themselves a cinematic genius, and they immediately start ruthlessly picking apart the camera angles, the lighting choices, and the narrative structure. Your immediate instinct is probably to yell, "Hey, you're overthinking this, you're ruining the fun." Listen, it's a totally valid fear.
And it's a very real, very well-documented tension. Just take a look at this quote. Perhaps the most vocal reactions against analysis come from those who see it as a destroyer of beauty, claiming that it kills our love for the object under study. A lot of people hold this firm, rock-solid belief that movies, and art in general really, should only be accepted intuitively, emotionally, and subjectively. The argument goes that our response to a film should be warm, vibrant, and completely uncluttered by cold, hard intellect.
But, here is where things get a little tricky, and where we really need to reframe our thinking. We so often set up this rigid wall between an intuitive and emotional response on one side and an intellectual and analytical response on the other. We treat it like a false choice, like you either have to purely feel a movie in your heart or coldly think about it in your brain. But that either-or, black and white polarization, it's fundamentally flawed. It totally denies us a much richer way to experience cinema.
Because there is a middle ground, and honestly, it is an absolutely beautiful place to be as a viewer. The soul of the poet and the intellect of the scientist can completely, 100% coexist within all of us. That's the big takeaway here today. We can synthesize these two approaches. By bringing our analytical brain to the table, we aren't murdering our love of movies. Actually, scratch that. It's more like we're giving ourselves the exact tools we need to experience joy, mystery, and beauty intellectually as well as intuitively. It just makes our love for movies so much stronger and more real.
So, what exactly are we talking about when we say film analysis? Let's define it clearly. It essentially means breaking up the whole to discover the nature, proportion, function, and interrelationships of its parts. It's literally popping the hood of a car to see exactly how the engine runs. But notice what this definition requires. You have to have parts working together to create a dynamic, functioning engine in the first place. It presupposes that the film actually is a unified, rationally structured, artistic whole. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what I mean. When you watch a classic drama like Ingmar Bergman's The Seventh Seal, a masterpiece deeply concerned with heavy themes like faith and mortality, breaking it down isn't just about understanding neat camera tricks. It's like learning to dive. Analyzing these complex films actually helps us understand our own human selves with a depth that might totally elude us otherwise. When we use the tools of analysis on a masterpiece, we aren't destroying its beauty, we're uncovering the deepest reaches of understanding that only our inner poet can truly, fully appreciate.
Now, we do have to establish some rules of engagement here, because this analytical approach, it doesn't automatically apply to every single thing you see on a screen. We've got to separate structured or narrative films from unstructured or experimental films. You see, analysis is highly effective for structured films because they're built with a definite underlying purpose, and they're unified around a central theme. But unstructured, underground, or experimental films, they communicate on a purely subjective, sensible plane. They are entirely meaningful as raw experiences, but because they lack that unified central purpose, you just can't pull them apart logically in the exact same way.
So let's focus our attention entirely on those structured films. You might be sitting there thinking, but wait, I intuitively understood the movie without analyzing it. Isn't that enough? Well, if a film is effective, yes, we definitely should possess an intuitive grasp of its overall meaning. But the problem is that intuitive grasp is generally really weak and vague. If we stop right there, we're limiting our critical response to hazy generalizations and half-formed opinions. We end up saying stuff like, "Oh, I liked it, it was sad," without really knowing why it made us feel that way. We're left with a strong gut feeling, but absolutely no words to explain it.
Let's move to and see how this builds into an actual methodology. Step 1. We take that vague, fuzzy intuitive grasp and we raise it to a conscious level. Step 2. We bring it into sharp focus by looking at exactly how the different parts of the film interact with each other. And finally, Step 3. We use that sharp focus to make valid and definite conclusions about the film's meaning and value. We are actively transforming an invisible gut feeling into a tangible, articulated insight.
But hey, don't worry. I want to reassure you that this process does not turn art into some cold, totally manageable science. The elusive, flowing stream of images will always escape complete analysis. A film's true aesthetic value can never be entirely captured or fully explained by some rigid formula. In fact, no final answers exist about any great work of art. We aren't solving a math problem with one correct answer here. We're exploring a vast, incredibly complex landscape.
So why take the analytical journey at all? Well, because the benefits drastically improve our viewing experience. It allows us to reach valid conclusions. It helps lock an experience in our memory. When you analyze a film, you really savor it, making it truly your own. It engages us intellectually and creatively. And brilliantly, by understanding certain basic elements habitually, it actually frees our minds up to concentrate on the really significant, deeper questions the film is asking.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how analysis actually acts as a sort of lie detector for quality. It fine-tunes our tastes over time. Think about mediocre films. They might impress us at first with flashy visuals or a cheap scare, but they lose their appeal rapidly under analysis. The parts just don't hold together. Great films, on the other hand, or even just very good ones, absolutely stand up under analysis. The more deeply you look into them, the more your admiration for them actually increases.
Ultimately, the greatest benefit and the true purpose of doing all this work is about opening new channels of awareness and new depths of understanding. It's highly logical when you step back and think about it. The more understanding we have, the more completely we can appreciate the art. If your love for an art form rests on a solid foundation of rational understanding, it's going to be far more enduring and of far greater value than a love based solely on quick, subjective, irrational reactions.
But we must always remember where that love originates. To quote the text here, it comes only from that secret, personal union between film and viewer in a darkened room. Analysis cannot magically create a love of movies where no such love exists. A book, an explainer, a critical framework, none of that can force you to care. What analysis does do is take the love that is already sparked in that darkened room and amplify it. Instead of canceling out the emotional experience, analysis enhances and completely enriches it.
So the next time the lights go down, don't be afraid to let the intellect of the scientist join the soul of the poet. As you become more perceptive, entirely new levels of emotional experience are going to emerge. Analyzing the art won't cancel out the magic, it is the very key to unlocking it. Which leaves us with one final thought as you head into your next cinematic adventure, armed with your brand new analytical tools. What new depths will you discover in the dark?